Hey there, my growers and friends. It's your friendly neighborhood gardener Gray here, and I'm just hanging out here on my deck. And I decided, let's start a new thing. Let's do mornings with Gray. So, without much further ado, here we are. It's mornings with Gray. So, I want to just say good morning to you all. I got out early this morning in my garden because with this Texas heat, one thing we have to do when challenging this Texas heat is we have to get out in our garden super early. So I got about 6 o'clock this morning, took care of all my gardening maintenance. Good morning to you, so delicious. Um, and I made sure that I took care of all my watering, all of my weeding, all of my harvesting, because you got to get out here. You got to get out here soon, because if not, that heat will take a hold of you. So right now, all I'm doing is actually just taking a sip of coffee in my favorite coffee mug. This is my Gardening Brings Me Peace mug. It is available in my links if you're so interested and inclined to do so. But I just wanted to come on out here, hang out with you, answer maybe some of your garden questions, and then of course show you a couple of things that I have going on in the garden, if that's okay with you. But I do hope you are having a great morning this morning, or wherever you're at in the world. I'm hoping you're having a great day. But let's get into swing of things. So, what I would like to show you today, this is actually one of my favorite plants right now, for the season at least. This is my Pakistani mulberry. This is actually a mulberry tree. If you can see, this was a branch that I actually purchased online from a local supplier over at Etsy, and I purchased these back in February. Since I purchased it back in February, look at that growth. We're talking about a good foot of growth. We've already got roots started to expose down at the bottom. Oh, the question is, Tiff Keenan says, what growing zone am I in? I'm in North Texas. I'm in zone 8B. I believe once we changed, we were 8A, now we're 8B. It's a great question, because we should always lead with what our growing zone is, right? Because a lot of times people will give you advice on what you should grow. If it's not in your growing zone, it could be a toss-up. It could be a challenge. But yeah, so the Pakistani mulberry. This mulberry, like I said, I purchased these cuttings. It was about maybe 20 cuttings I got from the gentleman for like $25, right? And it was all just one branch that he had hacked up. And I got them all into soil, and success rate as far as getting them rooted, I think I'm at maybe 90%. I lost 2, but that was just due to my error. But yeah, I mean, I got them all rooted. And all I did with this Pakistani mulberry is actually just peel back some of the bark, right, from the bottom layer. I wish I had an example here. Actually, I do have an example. Hold on a moment. This is actually a fail that didn't make it, but for the sake of examples, I can show you kind of what I did here. Now, this was a toss-up whether or not this one was going to survive anyway. But I mean, we had no rooting take place here. But all I did is actually just took my grafting knife and peeled back the bark that's on the branch here. I peeled back about a good inch, inch and a half, and you can't really see that now because all the dirt has moistened it. Tiff Keenan, all right, says in 8B as well. In Washington. Oh yeah, see, and that's the interesting thing about it. Up there near Washington, I have friends out there in Washington, family in Washington as well. And it's so interesting being here in the South. We assume that, oh, if I'm zone 8B, up north of me must be like 4 or 5. But no, on the Washington side, you get that oceanic breeze that comes in from the Pacific Northwest, and I mean, it just warms everything up really nice. But it's a great zone. I love it out there in Washington. So I peeled back the layer of bark about inch, inch and a half. Then I added a little bit of rooting hormone and just plopped it down in some soil. If you are looking for a tree that's a fruit producer and fast growing, you can't go wrong with the Pakistani mulberry. And I know you're probably thinking, why specifically the Pakistani? Well, I'm going to tell you. You have your regular red mulberry, right? You have a multitude of different mulberries out there. But the reason why I like the Pakistani, it has the great complex taste of your regular red mulberry. Red mulberry is going to be just a little bit bigger than maybe a blackberry. With a Pakistani, is going to be about a good 2 to 3 inch berry. I mean, we're talking about a very long berry, so you get all of that flavor. And the great thing about it, one, fast growing tree. If you actually get them well established and get them in the ground, we're talking about a growth rate up of about maybe 3 to 4 feet a year, and we're talking about a max growth of about 30 feet if you leave it unchecked, unpruned. So it can grow substantially and quickly. And then the best thing about it is that it goes and grows in zones from like 7 to 11. So it really, specifically here in North America, it can grow just about anywhere. So 7 to 11, and then you're going to get substantial growth really quick. So that's one thing I love about the Pakistani mulberry, is because, let's face it, a lot of us gardeners, myself included, ADHD, you know? So that deferred gratification sometimes is challenging. But with the Pakistani mulberry, boom, you get it right out the gates. I mean, we're talking, once the roots have established themselves, you're talking about some substantial growth really quick. Now, as far as fruiting, it actually starts fruiting about maybe late spring, early fall is when you're going to start seeing your fruiting on it. But be forewarned, because if you're growing a garden, if you're growing fruit, the birds and the squirrels are going to love your house. So you may have to get some bird netting. I don't know if you guys can hear, but usually when I'm out here in the mornings, my birds are greeting me. But yeah, I have a substantial aviary flock around here. So I don't know. But the way I grow an abundance of fruit and vegetables. So if I got to share a little bit with my local fauna, I'm okay with that. But that's something to consider should you think about adding the Pakistani mulberry to your garden, to your food forest. But that's what I wanted to show you today, was the Pakistani mulberry. Now I have a question for you. What questions do you have for me? I'm here to help you. If you're not familiar with who I am, my name is Gray. I'm all about peace, prosperity, and gardening, and helping. I'm here to help you. I'm a Texas Master Gardener, and I just enjoy helping people learn how to grow. And all of the things that I will tell you is based off of years of research, science-based, and it's here to help you grow better. That's all it is. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee if you don't mind. They're my birds. I'm looking at them now, right above my roof line. And I can't tell at this distance, my eyes are not as good as they used to be. But that may be one of my Carolina wrens. I get a bunch of Carolina wrens out here. Carolina wrens, cardinals, blue jays. And then of course down by my creek, I get a lot of the snowy egrets. I love when the egrets come through. I keep trying to see if I can catch a video of them. It's funny, in my age, the older I get, the more I'm interested in birds. I was never a birder before, but now I'm starting to become one more and more. So welcome everyone who has joined us. Don't worry if you missed the beginning section. I was talking about the illustrious Pakistani mulberries, and I'm going to see if I can load this video up in maybe a story format or maybe a reel format so that you guys can come back and see it later, because you're not going to want to miss that this beautiful Pakistani mulberry that I just talked about. It really is a great fast growing tree, much like the moringa. That's actually a video I put out yesterday. If you can see, I'm actually sitting here by two of my moringas right now. That's moringa number 1, and then over there by my struggling catnip. I just kind of let that catnip do its thing. That's my second mulberry, excuse me, not mulberry, what is it? Moringa. That's my second moringa there. El Tifkeen says, we have a ton of birds and I feed them all. We also have red-tailed hawks, and they are massive. You know, it's so funny. You're in Washington and I'm down here in Texas. I have red tails as well. We have red tails, and you see them up, high up in the sky and just soaring up there, and it's so cool to just see them just glide on the wind, you know. You can tell when they're hunting. Back when I used to have my chicken flock, I used to have to watch out for them, because I was like, yeah, I want these red tails coming down here and scooping up a chicken. But it's so interesting. Even though you're all the way on the west, we have very similar fauna. I think that's cool. Very cool. But yeah, so what you guys' questions? Use this, guys. I don't know why I keep doing that. I go into, whenever I'm asking a question, I go into like my Joe Pesci mode. It says use guys. They sit on my garden post, and they're 2 feet tall. Oh yeah, that's the interesting thing. When you see some of these predatory birds up close, like wow, I did not realize this thing was as massive as it was. But I mean, think about it. We can see it from our eye line, from the sky. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But I mean, just like yesterday, right? Yesterday I came out into my garden, and I saw a family of skunks that are actually living underneath this deck right here. And I know a lot of people are like, skunk? You excited about seeing skunk? I mean, one, they were little baby skunks. So yeah, I was actually excited. And I know a lot of people have considered them pests, but I welcome it. Because to me, again, when you're building a garden, you're building an ecosystem. And so you're inviting all that local fauna around that can help out. I mean, because, from what I've learned from the gardening community, because everybody started sharing comments, and I love that feedback. They said, skunks are omnivores, and they'll eat grubs, they'll eat different things in your ground and so forth, but they'll also eat some of your fruits and vegetables. But I'm like, hey, if they're doing some pest control for me, I can share a couple of fruit and vegetables. I'm okay with that. Sharing is caring, right? Yeah. So yeah. So this is my piece in the morning. Coming out here, doing my garden maintenance. Before I have my tasks of the day, I just come out here and soak in as much as I possibly can. Because of course we have our responsibilities. We have our jobs. We have our children. My wife and so forth. And all the tasks that I have to do out throughout the day. But this is where I center myself. This is where I ground myself. Pun totally intended. Coming out here and just hanging out and being with my garden. And now this garden here specifically, if you go back and check some of my previous content, it's a decent size. I've been cultivating this garden here for about 5 years at this home. Yeah, 5 years here. But I've been growing over 20 years. Wherever I've lived throughout these United States, I've always had either some small garden or my ornamental houseplants, just because I love having that life constantly around me. That's my connection to nature. You know what I mean? How large is the garden? Okay, that's a hard question. Because, I'm all throughout my property. My total property is about 1.18 acres. But I have an expansive tree canopy. And I'm going to show you the tree canopy. Because I'm a full believer that seeing is believing. And so we have, a creek that runs back behind the property line. But we have this massive canopy that blocks out a lot of the sun. And yes, I am growing year round. Thank you, Tiff King, for asking. So we have the property kind of, just kind of sprawls out. Now, this is all just in the back here. So with that being said, the original garden started with just this 10 by 10 over here. This is actually kind of like traditional rows. And then, of course, I've added some things to it to spruce it up a little bit. Then I've extended out, going to my pool pump house. And then now I have my greenhouse back here behind my pool. And then I'm constantly adding more and more to it. The shade does feel nice, but because of this canopy and because of my creek that I have back here, it actually gets pretty humid out here. But it's nice, it's comfortable, and the mosquitoes, of course, love it. And then, of course, on the deck up here, some of my trash and such. But I have a lot of my container plants, like my citrus. I have my Page mandarins coming in here, my Myers lemons, some blood oranges, and then strawberries. I love having my strawberries around. Oh, and another Page mandarin down there hiding behind my coffee this morning. And these are some plants that haven't been doing so well. They're actually being rehabilitated. And then we swing around and even more. So I'm constantly always expanding. I think that's every gardener's plight in life. You can't just what is the saying from Pringles? You can't do just one. You can't have just one. That's how it is with a garden. You can't just have one plant. You got to keep going. You grew up in Virginia. Jeff King says, grew up in Virginia and do not miss the humidity. The shade is simply shade, no mosquitoes. Now, see, okay. Many moons ago, I was with the United States military, United States Army, and I spent some time out in the Tacoma area, out by Fort Lewis, Washington, and there were some mosquitoes out there, and the mosquitoes out there were, I mean, it's funny because when I was in the military, I had a mosquito net, and, you know, we were doing like some squad tactics at night or something, and I had a mosquito net on, and it was like, hey, Brown, you know, Brown being my last name, you're from Louisiana, why do you have a mosquito net on? I'm like, yeah, I'm originally from Louisiana. Doesn't mean I like mosquitoes. But the mosquitoes out there in Washington were like massive. They were like small little hummingbirds. Them things was everywhere. So yeah, it's funny because I did come across a lot of mosquitoes. But then again, I was out in the woods. I was down by the mountains and so forth. But yeah, it was a lot of mosquitoes. But you know what? Even though they were annoying, they weren't really biting as much. So yeah. But that was over 20 years ago. It's funny when you recall a story and just start dating yourself there. But yeah, just having a nice shade canopy and no humidity, that would be heavenly. I'd be heavenly. I would like that and enjoy that. Yes, so Tiff Keenan, you are the most engaged in this conversation right now, so I have a question specifically for you. All right, so you mentioned that you do have a garden. What are you growing this season? I would like to know. What are you growing this season, and is there anything that's your favorite, that your standout outlier? Because, you know, let's face it, every season we do have a favorite, something that's going to outperform for us, something that's going to be really successful, and then we have those redhead stepchildren that just don't want to do right. That was mean. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that. But yeah, we do have those trouble crops, we'll say. So what are you growing this season? I'm interested. And guys, while you're hanging out here with me, if there's anyone you want to share this broadcast with, to have them come hang out and ask questions in the garden, feel free to share. And feel free to share any of my content, because as you can see, it's all about peace over here. It's all about being nice and relaxing, something to calm the soul. That's what I'm all about. I'm not about bringing anything that's going to make you frown. I'm only here to make you smile. Oh, yeah. See, and that's a good thing about being out here in Texas and getting out and doing our gardening in the morning, because that heat's starting to slowly creep in on us. But it's still okay right now. It's manageable. All right, Tiff Keenan says, my bean cherry tree is amazing right now. I can pick cherries every day. That is amazing. Awesome. Bean cherries, picking cherries every day. You can't beat that with a stick. I love it. I love it. See, and that's the thing. Oh, and some Granny Smiths, galas, and Asian pears and plums. Ooh, you are I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I love Granny Smiths. I think they are the perfect thing for an apple pie. It's a Granny Smith. That right amount of tartness when you're baking. I'm not a big baker, but I'm not a real big sweets person, believe it or not. And but an apple pie made with some Granny Smiths, that's a winner right there for me, because it's not overly, overpowering. Nice. I am jealous. I want to grow more apples out here. It's just that out here in Dallas, even though we're the same zone, I don't get as many chilling hours as you. So growing apples, I have to find. Now, I believe I can do a gala pretty well out here, if memory serves me correctly. I just need to find the space and get me 2 or 3 good grafted galas that I might do out here. Tiff Keenan, having some troubles. Okay, see, I'm caring for my mom with dementia right now, so I'm growing in containers. So some Korean cucumbers, nice. Japanese eggplant, squash, and tomatoes. Nice, 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 nice. Now, squash. And first and foremost, That's awesome what you're doing for your mom, taking care of her. Need more people like that like you in this world, because family is important. But your squash. Now out here in Texas, we have those wonderful pests called squash vine borers. Do you run into the same issues with squash vine borers with your squash? Where they start burrowing into your plants and just completely devastate your crops? Have you ever run into that with any of your squash? Korean cucumbers, Japanese eggplant, squash, and tomatoes. That is awesome. And 3 types of peppers. Hey, you gotta have your peppers, right? Current my peppers, I have 2 habaneros growing. I'm not a big spicy person, but sometimes I like a little bit of spice. So I got some habaneros going. They're on their first season, and of course I have my bell peppers for my seasoning. You know, that's that original Louisiana. I mean, I always got to have the trio, right? Some garlic, some bell pepper, and some onion. So those are like my staples I grow every year. And the question was asked, do I grow year round? Yes, I grow year round because of my greenhouse and because of my ornamental plant room. So a lot of the things that I'll have, like if I have a particular cultivar or a particular variety of something that I like that's an annual, I will overwinter them and bring them inside so that I can keep growing them throughout the next season. So yes. Ooh, you have a lot of voles. Okay, here's the statement. Tiff Keenan says, my garden has a lot of voles and birds, so the pests are not as prolific. Okay, that's good. The voles are helping out. They seem to enjoy helping me tend the garden. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, so I imagine cicadas out there making noise. I imagine when the squash vine borers are laying their larvae in the soil, those voles are probably helping you out and aerating your soil a little bit. See, and that's a perspective. Because a lot of times when we get in the gardening, because I've had a lot of questions in the past about moles and voles and how do we take care of them in the garden. And it depends on what you're looking for. It depends on how destructive they are. Like if they're actually helping you out, leave them be. You know, sometimes we have to take what's called in the master gardening world called an IPM approach when it comes to pest management. That's an integrated pest management system. And essentially it's a system of observing and recording your data and seeing what's happening, what's taking place before we just start blanket, napalming everything in the garden. Sometimes you have to watch, like, hey, I have these wasps that keep flying around my garden. I want to get them out of here. Wait, those wasps actually may be predatory wasps that are laying eggs inside of the caterpillars that may be taking out your hornworms and maybe taking out your tomatoes. So sometimes we just have to wait and monitor and see what's going on. And I'm glad you realize that with your voles. Your voles aren't doing much destruction, they're actually helping you out. That's a great approach. And life in general, too. You miss cicadas. Tiffany says they miss cicadas. Oh, I don't. Cicadas don't harm. They won't harm you. But I can't stand cicadas because I walk throughout this property throughout all day long, night, morning, you name it. And it seems like anytime I'm walking outside, now this is the reason why I wear my hat too, they fly right into my face every single time. I'm like, how do you not see me? Like I am, I'm 100 times bigger than you, but they fly right into my face every time, and it just annoys the heck out of me. But again, cicadas do no harm. And we're not like some places in the United States where, you have the 7 years, they burrow down and, no, our cicadas are every single year, every season. The cicadas are coming, so, and the sound is pretty cool. My 6-year-old son, when he was younger, he was about 3, he had caught a cicada and he was holding one in his hand so he could hear the sound. He did like the sound, he thought it was pretty cool. Oh, you plant the potatoes for them so they can stay around. There you go. Feed them a little bit of potatoes. Share the love. Share the wealth. I love it. Yeah, they'll go after those tubers for sure. They'll go for those tubers for sure. But in those type of situations, let's say hypothetically, you didn't want the voles digging up your tubers. Of course, you would know in that situation, what you would do is you would just put down, before you put your garden bed down, you would just put a little chicken wire down on the soil. Like say if you're going to do a raised bed. You place that down on your ground beforehand, before you place your raised bed, and give yourself about a good 2 foot, then they can't burrow through. But it seems like you got it all worked out. Yep. The sound of cicadas. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So just hanging out here in the garden. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Do we think we should do this? Because I asked this question. Hanging out in the morning with you guys is always fun to me because I always love answering questions. I think we maybe should do this on a weekly basis. Just come out maybe every Saturday morning and just kind of have a morning chat where we talk about gardening, answer some questions, and just hang out and relax, put a smile on our faces. How's that sound? Maybe this is something I can do on a regular basis. Because on Monday, myself, Andre the Farmer, and the Chocolate Botanist, we actually had a 7 p.m. Central. I'm not sure. What time would that be? I think that would be about 4 or 5 o'clock Washington, where we, in the evening, where we do a podcast where we actually answer garden questions. You usually have a topic of discussion, and we just kind of talk about gardening and answer your questions live. So that's something that we do every Monday. But I think for myself, just for the whole, hanging out, answering garden questions, and, focusing on peace and the love of gardening, I think this is something that I may flirt with doing every Saturday. How does that sound? Someone's name is Corinne Doesn't Want To. I love your name because that's the same name as my 9-year-old daughter. Only difference is she's 2 R's instead of 2 N's. So she's Corrine. Nice. Thank you for joining us. Well, guys, this has been pretty fun. We got about 2 minutes left because it is the sun is starting to creep in on me here in my Zone 8B Texas garden. So I'm about to go ahead and pull it back up on the canopy under the shade. Oh. Tiff Keenan, it was nice to wake up before I have to go wake up Mom. So thanks for the chat, and please let me know if you do this again. I definitely will. I think we're going to do this on a more frequent basis. It's been amazing talking with you guys. I look forward to talking to you again real soon. You guys take care, okay? Enjoy your garden, folks. Enjoy your garden.